My wife's girl trip turned out a romantic getaway with her lover. So, I revealed her lies and got divorced. I'm a 30-year-old male. When you've been married for 6 years, you think you know someone. I thought I knew my ex-wife inside and out. We met at a Best Buy when I was picking parts for a custom PC build. She wandered into the monitor section, looking lost, and we ended up talking about specs and gaming setups. That conversation turned into a coffee date, which eventually turned into love. I thought I'd found my partner for life. For years, everything seemed perfect. We built a life together, moved in after 3 years of dating, and adopted a cat. I proposed during a weekend trip to Seattle, where we were attending a gaming convention. Our wedding was intimate, just how we wanted it. We celebrated milestones with her 2 best friends, Mary and Stacy, who were practically family. But all of that was a lie. I just didn't know it yet. It started subtly, a shift in her behavior I couldn't quite pinpoint, and had always been open with me about her plans and conversations. But one day, I came home early and found her on a call with Mary and Stacy. She immediately tensed up, her tone changing mid-sentence. When I walked in, she awkwardly ended the call, brushing it off as weekend plans. That moment stuck with me. Later that night, I lingered near the home office door. Her whispers were out of character. She's usually animated and loud when talking to her friends. What caught my attention was the mention of he and him. I knew about their annual girls' trip to Cabo, but this didn't sound like 3 friends planning a vacation. Something didn't add up. At first, I dismissed it as paranoia, but as the trip approached, her behavior became increasingly strange. She was overly affectionate, almost like she was trying to compensate for something. When I casually suggested joining them, she seemed hesitant and quickly dismissed the idea, citing their tradition of girls-only trips. I let it go, chalking it up to stress from my packed work schedule. But in the back of my mind, doubt lingered. One night, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, but something felt deeply wrong. What I found shattered me. Their usual chat was filled with giddy messages about Chris. They mentioned bikinis, romantic dinners, and couples massages. The pictures hit the hardest. And in Chris, arms around each other, smiling at a restaurant 2 weeks ago. She told me she was out with work friends that night. My stomach turned. The friends I'd trusted were in on this. Mary even wrote, "You two are going to have the best time," followed by heart emojis. They weren't just complicit, they were cheering her on. I left the house to clear my head, driving aimlessly through the neighborhood. When I returned, she acted like everything was normal, even cuddling up to me on the couch. Meanwhile, I was mentally preparing for the end of our marriage. The next day, I started digging. With Chris's name and a few social media searches, I pieced together who he was: a regional sales manager, married with kids. His profile screamed family man, but the messages and photos told a different story. I contacted a lawyer. We prepared divorce papers and discussed strategies. My lawyer suggested recording evidence of the affair, if possible. That's when an idea hit me. I'd confront them in Cabo. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about making sure there was no denying what she'd done. I booked a last-minute flight, using details from their messages to find a resort. The cost was astronomical, but I didn't care. On the morning of her flight, I drove her to the airport, pretending everything was fine. Watching her walk through security with a suitcase packed for another man felt surreal. She texted me updates throughout the day, pictures of her ocean view room and the infinity pool, claiming she missed me. That evening, I arrived at the resort. My room was on a different floor, ensuring I wouldn't bump into them prematurely. The next morning, she sent me a selfie by the pool, describing her plans for the day. With my phone recording in my shirt pocket, I walked to the pool. There they were, and in a blue bikini, Chris rubbing sunscreen on her legs. They looked completely comfortable, like a couple who had done this many times before. I stood behind them for a moment, letting the scene sink in. Chris noticed me first, looking annoyed, as if I were interrupting his vacation. When and finally saw me, Her reaction was priceless. She froze, her drink spilling as she sat up. I handed her the envelope with the divorce papers. She took it, probably already guessing what was inside. Chris stood up, puffing out his chest like he was ready for a fight. I'd seen his type before at the gym. Guys who think they can intimidate their way out of any situation, that he was a bit taller than me. Chris put his hand on my chest and tried pushing me back, acting tough in front of him. She tried pulling him away, but Chris wasn't backing down. He kept his hand on my chest and started talking about how I needed to leave them alone. The whole situation was ridiculous. This guy was telling me to leave while he was on a romantic vacation with my wife. The next few seconds happened fast as Push got more aggressive, and I reacted by shoving him hard. He stumbled backward over a lounge chair and fell straight into the pool. I couldn't help laughing at the sight of him splashing into the water. Some people around the pool started recording on their phones, probably thinking this would make a good social media post, and was freaking out. She tried the classic "it's not what it looks like" line, which was pretty absurd considering she was in a bikini with another man at a couple's resort. I asked her about Mary and Stacy, knowing full well they were probably at work back home. Anne's tears started immediately, but I didn't stay to listen to her excuses. I left the resort, checked out early, and flew home. That night, I turned off my phone and slept better than I had in weeks. The fallout was swift, and showed up at our house 2 days later, begging for forgiveness. Her excuses ranged from "it wasn't serious" to "I was going through something." I told her to pack her things and leave. Her sister, who had always been cold toward me, tried to intervene, but I refused to budge. The divorce process revealed even more betrayals. Financial records showed unexplained expenses, lingerie, Uber rides near Chris's office. The most damning thing was a receipt from a jewelry store. She had bought him a watch for his birthday, while telling me she was picking up a gift for her dad. Every discovery just reinforced that ending the marriage was the right decision. The final settlement worked out heavily in my favor. Anne's lawyer initially pushed for half of everything, but backed down quickly when we presented all the evidence of her affair expenses. They settled for me keeping the house and my car, while she got 30% of our savings, much less than she would have received normally. I even got to keep our dog Robin, who I didn't think needed to be mentioned before, which was a huge relief since I'm the one who always walked him and took him to the vet anyway. I also contacted Chris's wife. At first, she denied it, accusing me of trying to stir up trouble. But the evidence was undeniable. She thanked me for exposing the truth and filed for divorce. Chris, humiliated and facing backlash at work, moved out of state. Anne's parents, who had treated me like family, were devastated. Her father couldn't believe she'd thrown everything away for a fling. Her friends, Mary and Stacy, stayed silent, likely knowing they'd played a role in destroying my marriage. The lesson? If you can't be faithful, don't get married. Betrayal always comes to light. I'm moving forward now, knowing I did everything I could. And Chris lost everything for a fleeting romance, and I've gained a second chance at life. I'm sharing this story as a reminder that you can survive betrayal and come out stronger. While I wouldn't wish this experience on anyone, it taught me valuable lessons about self-worth, resilience, and the importance of maintaining your dignity even when others try to take it from you. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.